What's going on, buddy? Studio here, and today I'm bringing you the Water Ally build guide, and this is most likely going to be the strongest solo GR farm build that's going to be in Season 25. And by that I mean the strongest build in terms of farming gritters or farming Paragon. Now this video is made to show just how incredibly strong and fun this build is, so make sure to watch the entire video so you also can blast and farm Paragon like a madman in Season 25. So let's get into it, shall we? So what you see on the screen here is me doing a GR 110 on my newly made monk. I made this character in about 30 minutes. The gear is completely awful. I have one ancient being the weapon, and the rest is just terrible stats. It has 8k main stat as well, and no augments. So as you can see, it is a freshly made character, and you can still blast these 110 GRs very easily and quickly. And you can do these kind of speeds in about 2 to 2.5 minutes. And the skilling is just insane. I can see this build probably go up to even clearing 130s in the same amount of speed. Of course with good gear and high Paragon. So how does this build work? Basically, it comes from the newly changed inner we had in Season 24, and now we just added the Season 25 theme. So basically, all our damage comes from the 6-piece and buffing our Mystic ally. So let's quickly go over the inner set to understand how this works. So the 2 set, increase the passive effect of Mystic ally and the base passive effect of Rancher by 100%. The 4 set, gain the base effect of all 4 mantras at all times. This is very good for damage and toughness. You gain 5% damage reduction for each Mystic ally you have out. Your Mystic allies can no longer take damage, so you get a massive damage reduction buff as well from this. And the 6-piece basically makes you have 10 allies out at all times, and you get 3000% multiplier damage per ally out. So that's a massive damage increase, and you can see why this new build is now so strong. So playstyle wise, it's just about buffing your Mystic allies as much as possible. So how do we do this? Basically, we want to jump in, we want to pop our Epiphany and our Serenity to start with. After that, it's basically just about dashing around, finding an elite, wave the 100 Fist once just to proc your focus restraint, then also using Cyclone Strike. After you've done that initial setup, you then want to press your Mystic ally. And when you press that, they're all going to become these water waves, and that's basically where all your damage comes from. After you've done this, and assuming you're at a decent level where you can mostly one-shot an elite pack, you want to then keep moving. By that I mean you want to dash around, Cyclone Strike things together, and then use your water allies to kill them. Now you want to be careful you don't spam your Mystic ally too much, because they mostly do their damage while they are waves. So only use the spell again when you see them change back to the human form. So make sure you dash around, proc your Silent Strike, use your Mystic ally and hunt for elites. You definitely want to make sure you find elites so you can keep your Injum going. So when you get started and you pop out your cooldowns, you find an elite, you kill the first elite and you have your Injum going, this build is a lot of fun. It can maybe take an hour to get used to this playstyle, but once you have it nailed, it's a lot of fun and very easy to play. I hope you're enjoying this video. Make sure to leave a like if you do. Now let's look at the Season 25 theme, shall we? So what you see here on the screen is the new soul shot for the weapon. There are 7 total. This is one of them. What we're mostly after are the 2 last lines. So each time your pet hits an enemy, your damage is increased by 1% for 5 seconds. This stacks up to 100 times. When you reach 100 stacks, the stacks quickly reset to 0. So basically, if you look on screen, you'll see I have the stacks that keep going from 100 and then back down to 0. So this is basically another pet multiplier and increase our damage a lot since we are using pets, i.e. the Mystic allies. And also the other line, you deal 25% less damage, but your pet deals 50% increased damage. And since all our damage comes from pet, this is very nice to have. Now for the helmet gem, we are using the Sliver of Terror. So basically, your attack speed and critical hit chance are increased by 7% for each skill on cooldown. And as you can see, we always have at least 3 skills on cooldown, so this is a pretty big buff. And also the other line, your cooldowns are increased by 25%. Now this is bad, but for every skill on cooldown, you take 12.5% reduced damage and you deal 25% increased damage, so a massive damage increase. So these new gems are also now why you can clear 110 with a freshly made character, so make sure you get these as soon as possible. And what you see on screen here is me running the water ally setup. There's also one with fire, but that's more used for pushing. This water ally setup is probably going to be the strongest solo gritter farming build in the game in Season 25. Now let's go over the gear and see why this build is so strong. So to start with, we are of course using the inners, but for the weapons we're actually using the weapon this time for the inner set. So this weapon has increased Mystic ally damage up to 120%. So make sure you get this. This should be your priority 1 when you look at a new weapon. Of course also get it ancient. Besides that, cooldown and damage percent increase are really nice. For the ring we're using focus and restraint. You want to get something like this, so a damage crit. You could also go for a dexterity crit roll early game, but the 2 crit rolls are really nice to have. For the gloves, dexterity, attack speed, crit is the way to go. For the shoulders, make sure you get Mystic ally damage and cooldown reduction. And also a decently high secondary, because that is also a big damage mitigation from us. The helmet is very basic, just get dexterity, vitality and crit hit chance. And the chest piece gain dexterity and misstag ally damage. Now we are actually also using the Captain Crimson set. Basically what this does is give us a ton of cooldown reduction and resource cost reduction, and then also give us damage increased by percentage of cooldown reduction, and damage taken is reduced by percentage of cost reduction. So basically we gain a ton of really good stats from this. On your belt, get dexterity, vitality and all res. For your pants, get dexterity, vitality and all res. And the same goes for the boots, dexterity, vitality, all res. Now for the necklace, we're using Squirt's amulet. This is actually really good. We have a lot of uptime since we're using Serenity. And the deal stats for this would be elemental damage, crit, so cold damage and crit. For the braces, we're using the bindings of the lesser gods. Now, the first thing you want to look at is the secondary that can roll from 150 to 200. Make sure you get this as close to 200 as possible. And after that, you would want elemental damage, so cold, and crit hit chance. Now for the gems, we are playing with Bane of the Powerful, Bane of the Trapped, and Enforcer. Now for the primary attack, it doesn't matter too much. We mostly just use this to proc our focus restraint. We're also playing with Cyclone Strike, Implosion. This is to gather all the mobs around you into you and then to explode them all. You also want to make sure you hit elite packs and stuff with the Cyclone Strike to proc your Bindings of Lesser God, giving you the 200% increased damage bonus. Now we are playing with Mystic Ally, Water Ally. You could also Fire Ally for a push build, but for this here we're using Water Ally. That is the more reliant and useful for this speed setup. We're also playing with Epiphany, Desert Trout just to get a ton of damage reduction. We're also playing with Dashing Strike, Quicksilver. This is just to get around the map quickly and find elites. You basically want to jump from pack to pack while letting your allies kill everything in between. And as for the last skill, we're using Serenity with Ascension, so basically we get 4 seconds of immunity. Now for the passives, we're playing with Relentless Assault, so you deal 20% more damage to enemies that are blind, frozen or stunned, and since our water ally stuns them, this is a 20% increased damage, so that's nice. We're playing with Seized Initiative, so dealing damage to enemies above 75% life, increase your attack speed by 30%. Attack speed is a big multiplier for this build, and we want to stack this as much as possible just to help our allies get that attack speed. We're also playing with Being of Yidar, reduce all cooldowns by 20%. And for last passive, we are using Momentum, so moving 25 yards increase your damage by 20% for 6 seconds. So basically we have this at all times due to how our dash works. Now for the cube, we are using Endure, of course. This is mandatory for this build to getting around quicker. For Armor Slot, we are playing with the coolest boots, so a 200% increased damage to Mystic allies. And also able to attack with their active form longer, i.e. being the waves that they turn into. And for Jewelry Slot, we're using the Ring of Ralgrunder. This allows us to have the 5-piece Inners and the 2-piece Captain Crimsons equipped and still get the effect of both items, so it's mandatory. Now for the follower, there's just a few basic things you need. So to start with, you want to make sure to get an Oculus ring with a high secondary, i.e. being as close to 85% as possible. You also want to make sure you have a Flavor of Time and Nemesis braces equipped just to really maximize the potential of each pylon. So as you can see, it's a very basic build and it works really well. I'm definitely going to be blasting this build in Season 25, and if you're looking for a really good, fun and interesting, a really strong build for Season 25, I'd really recommend playing this. I hope you found this video useful. Leave a like, comment and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out, folks.